Hey everybody, I'm gonna adjust the camera a wee bit. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday. I had a long week, and that's why I'm struggling a little bit today. Whew! So it's good to see we got a few numbers in here on a Saturday early. Early for me. It's a good time for some of you guys. 6, 7 o'clock. What time is it for you, Chris? You're in every live stream. Doesn't matter what time it is. Chris is down in Australia, and he's here regardless. I think I've said it before. I think he's a bot. I don't think he sleeps. I don't even know if he's real because he's just always there. We got a lot of folks here, a lot of regulars. Hello, Bob, Jeff, and Sharon. I need to say sorry and thank you, because you did bring it to my attention in last week's live stream that something wasn't quite right. And I didn't catch on to what you were saying in the stream so I struggled with that for about 20 or 30 minutes after I ended the live stream, and to realize what I had done wrong. And the goal was I wanted to have those offset staggered slots and tabs, and I did it incorrectly in that process, but I figured it out and I've got it nailed down, and we're going to discuss that. But I also learned a new trick, and some of you were like me. You weren't even aware that we have the the protractor or the angle ability in the measurement tool until I looked at it during that live stream. I was like, oh yeah, there it is. Well, I figured out a way to use that minimizes the having to use some of the Control 2. Now, I love Control 2, but using the angle measurement from the measurement tool can also be very, very helpful. And I'm not going to redesign the whole thing again, but I am going to show you what I did wrong, show you how to use that angle tool in the measurement tool, and then show you how to actually assemble one of the fans, because this ain't simple. It is, and it's not. It's delicate, and it's not. But there are going to be folks who are going to be tuning in late, and they're going to miss out on some of the stuff, and then just going to go back and watch it over. And for folk, I'm going to eventually link this live stream to the product description on the website. The design is already on hobowithwood.com. And I'm going to link this video once it's over to that item that's in the description, because you're going to want to watch this to see how this brain put all this together. And some design tips and some laser tips that will prevent you from struggling too much. But if you don't watch this all the way through and you hop around and jump around, you're going to miss it. And you're going to break it, and you're going to break it, and it's not going to work, or it's not going to line up, or it's not going to tilt the way you want it to, because I don't know if what I did is either stupid or ingenious, but either way, it works, and it works really, really good. And I even redesigned it from this one. This one, I think, was the working prototype that I showed you guys. And I went through one design after another design after another design with the weather vanes and the engine, the motors and all that. But we got it dialed in right now. This is the final. And now I'm going to have to update my pictures too. I don't know what happened with my laser, because it's not in the design. I think I might have overtaxed my computer when I was cutting this out, because it started doing some wiggly wobblies. And that's a straight line in LightBurn. Those are straight lines. They're not, it looks like they're slacking the cables, and it didn't do it on all of them. It just did it on some of them. I cut it out again today, and that's this one. And this one did not do it on all of them. It did it on just a very few of them. But I don't know why it did it, because it's not in the design at all. It's just, in fact, you've seen how I did it last week. For those that were here, I just drew a straight line with a pencil and did an offset. So I'm not sure why that happened. And I'm curious, if you get this file, do you have that? And let me know. But we're going to go through all this, and I'm going to show you how easy this is to create, and create this in a way that you don't have to create two different sides. You can create the one side and have this staggered offset with the tabs, where you've got, tab up top, but now that one's down here. And I just like that. It broke up that monotony of the continuity of having the tabs and slots opposing each other. So Sharon, thank you for pointing that out last week. And I did resolve it, and we're going to show you how we do all that. But let's see who all was in the building here. I was looking at some of the comments before we went live, and Kent says he's got 7 weeks before he can retire, and he's going to be in the shop full time. Well, careful what you wish for. Because, and I think somebody even, Chris said the same thing, more or less. He says, you do realize that the days get shorter when you retire. There's not enough hours. It's amazing when you retire how you can manage to get anything done. You can work 40, 60 hours a week and still get your grass cut, and still get all the shopping done, and still get everything done. But once you retire, you ain't got enough hours to get anything done. It just is piling up on you. So, and if you think you're going to go into the shop as a hobby, careful. It piles up fast. And let's see here. Who was it? I think it was, was it Dale? I think Dale's the one that requested this. I think I seen him in the comments. Let's see here. I think Chris says that the wobbly is tornado damage in the wobble design there on the. You're missing. Your picture is missing on the Planner 3. Not sure what you mean by that, Brandon. On the website, on your website, the picture's missing. I'll have to take a look at that. Jeff says maybe the squiggly lines are an issue with the wood. Well, it's flat and fixed to the, but you know what? I see what you could be the tension in the wood, because those are super, super thin. And that's what that's one thing I'm going to show you how to do with this design, because those I intentionally cut really, really thin. And if there's enough tension in that wood as the wood is being cut, it's possible that it's shifting and causing that, maybe. And that's what Kevin said. Sounds like there might be something going on with the wood itself. And if that's and that's something I didn't even think about, guys. So yeah, that's a possibility. If I'm going to put a bunch of little asterisks down here because I've got to the bottom of the comments. That's just me place marking myself. So when I scroll back up, I know where I left off. So yeah, that's one possibility. So let's jump over here to LightBurn and bring this file into LightBurn as it's going to import for you from hobowithwood.com. So switching over, and if you download it from hobowithwood.com, when you import it, it's going to come in just like so. I've already got it nested on 2 pieces of 300 by 300 material. Now, someone else in Facebook and said, "Oh man, this is nice. Let's scale it up and make a yard art out of it." And you can do that with this file because I designed it really super small. Scaling it up is not an issue. You should, it's big. You could make it as big as your laser would handle. But it's when you got a great big file and you need to scale it down that you lose a lot of the detail, and you can't always do that. But this being designed as small as it is, if you wanted to scale this thing up to make a 3-foot piece, if your laser can handle it, you could do it. But first, let's look at a real simple thing. Now, whenever you open this up and you bring it in from LightBurn, I think the only thing that is currently grouped are going to be the struts and the support pieces, the inner pieces. They're not even grouped with the outer layer. And those are going to be the only, well, that one's grouped. I take that back. But if you hit ungroup one time, then when you click here, that's grouped and that's grouped. So if you wanted to make those struts just a little bit larger, just select every one of those groups and go over to the offset tool and do an inward offset. And if you do an inward offset of 1 millimeter and delete the original objects and say OK, then that's going to go from a 1 millimeter strut support to 3.5, almost 3.5 millimeters. And so that would double that. And if that's what's going on with this design, if you get this and you start cutting it out and you start seeing that you're getting some squiggly, wigglies, maybe just select that whole thing and just do an inward offset, delete the original, and that will beef that up, and maybe that'll stop that from happening. I may end up having to try that myself. But I'm going to go back to my original. There we go. Now, that's the only thing that's grouped, are those pieces. So if you're going to cut this out, the first thing you're going to want to do is set your slots and tabs to the right thickness and the right size. So since the only thing that's grouped are those struts, you can select this entire piece and go to the tools, resize slots and selection. And now that they've got the ability to do all three of these, you've only got to open this once. Go to your old material thickness and put in, I think I use 3 millimeters or thereabouts. And if you increase your tolerance to at least 0.5 millimeter, you should be able to start picking them up. Let's see. Yeah. So there, right now it's doing slot depth. And so you can see it's wanting to change all these slots on the tower because these are all slots. And if you look at tabs, that doesn't see anything on the sides as tabs. The only tabs are this piece up here at the top. Now I want to address these little bitty points right here. These are absolutely necessary. If you look at it and say, well, that's just going to burn away or break off, well, that's fine. But it's necessary. Those have to be there in order for them to be considered a slot and be able to be resized. And you'll see that on the tops of them and also on the bottom of them. Like that one, it's going to burn away and go away, bye-bye. That's fine. But that has to be there in order for it to recognize that as a slot. So with everything already ungrouped except for the struts, and you select the entire thing, go into resize slots and shapes, put in your old material thickness, 3 millimeters, give it a 0.5 millimeter tolerance, and set your new tolerance to your material thickness. And then you're going to do slot depth, slot width, because that's going to be these inner pieces of the windmill blades. And then tab height, which is just that little bitty tab up on the top of the tower. And then when you're done, you say, okay, I'm just going to hit cancel. And now you've resized all of the slots and tabs to your material thickness. Now, pay attention. This is crucial. If you don't do this, you're not going to get the proper rotation of these blades whenever you put it in here, because we cut that slot out to the material thickness. but we're not going to worry about the kerf when we cut out the wheel or the blades. So that the kerf is going to give you the distance, the extra space you need for it to have a little bit of slop. So set your slots to the actual thickness of your material. But what you need to do, and if we look over here at the layers that I've got on here, I've got 3 layers plus the tool path. I've got an engraved layer, 2 lines that are in cut mode, and they're the exact same settings, space or speed and power. But the difference is I've got the red layer, my O2 layer, as the perimeter of the towers. Everything else is on the blue layer, and then a little bit of an engraving right here. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I did the tower perimeter on a separate O2 layer so I can actually add a little kerf to it to make it a snugger fit, because if you don't add a little kerf to it, unless you've got another set of hands or you're just really skilled, I'm fumbling with that thing trying to get it to stay together long enough to get it glued up, because this is already on an angle. There's no way you can put this so that you can put it so it cuts at a 45. So I could not use my perfect kerf. But if you know what your perfect kerf is for your laser, the optimum kerf, then I would add about half of your optimum kerf to this outer perimeter with this orientation, and it should give you a snug but not overly tight fit that you can press it together and then glue it up without a whole lot of struggles. But the rest of it, you don't want to add any kerf to it. Any kerf that falls away, that extra material that's been cut away, that's actually going to be a little bit of a blessing. And you sure wouldn't want to add any additional kerf that would cause those struts to get any narrower. So that's why they're on a separate layer. And no, Chris, the wobble's not consistent on all sides. So that's why it does make sense that it might be a material thing. And Lyle says, I don't even know what my worst kerf is. Well, I did a video on finding your optimum kerf, and on the diode, and this is for diode users. If you're using a CO2, this does not apply to you. But the diode users, the diode laser, when it cuts, it's rectangular. It is not cutting in a symmetrical path as it cuts. So as it cuts on the Y, it's going to be wider and possibly than when it's cutting on the X. So that's why I say when you cut with a diode laser, when you cut at a 45-degree angle, you get it equates to creating a uniform kerf, because you're taking that rectangular shape and putting it at a 45-degree angle, and as it moves, it's given you're not changing the angle of your gantry, you're changing the angle of your design and making that move on a rectangular path. It works. But here, since we can't do it on a rectangular angle and wouldn't do that anyway, half of my optimum kerf gives me a really good snug fit with this design. So that's why that's on a separate layer. I talked to you about what those little bitty pieces are that they're going to cut away and fall off, but they have to be there, because on the LightBurn, what LightBurn looks for as a slot or a tab is 4 nodes. So if I go into node editing, you see and that's how I made sure LightBurn didn't confuse this as a tab. I put a 5th node right there, so LightBurn will ignore that. But here it sees 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 nodes make up the slot. Well, up here at the top, if I didn't have that little point out there, if I had that just come straight up to the top, you'd only have 1, 2, 3 nodes, and LightBurn would not recognize this, and it would not allow you to resize it. And that's why over here it's irrelevant, because you've got 3, but this is not a tab, so it's irrelevant. But and the same thing goes over here. It had to have that 1, 2, 3, 4. in order for LightBurn to resize it. In Chicago, was it wobbly right after you cut it, or did it? No, it was right after, Bob. It come off the laser like that. But you can see here, and you've seen last week when I drew it, it was just a matter of drawing a straight line from point A to point B and then just doing an offset of it. So they're perfectly straight lines, but it does, the material does make sense that's what's causing it. So by doing what I just showed you in the beginning, just right out of the gate, you might take this and just do not an outward. No, yeah, I'm sorry, an inward. Do an inward offset of an additional millimeter and delete the original objects, and that beefs that up. And that, I just like the look, because when you're looking at a windmill, you typically don't see a big beefy struts. You got little things going on, and honestly, it doesn't just take away from it enough that it really bothers me. I like that thinner strut more than I do the thicker, enough that I'll put up with a little wobble if the material is what's causing it. All right. So we talked about the different layers, the kerf. Now, this is my inner wheel that's going to be glued up with the fan blades on it. Now, what is all this? This is how I get the rotation of the blade. And I've got two of them here. And when I cut my design out, I cut out one before I checked my settings. And I think it might be too much. And so I cut out a second one, but we'll see. And when I say you need to, before you go cutting this design out, first thing you should do is test your settings on your material for the black layer, for the engraved layer. Because what you're going to do is you're actually going to be engraving, and this is set up with a crosshatch. So it's going to cut those slots twice, and you're creating, and I wished I could focus better, but I don't have an autofocus. But you're creating a little pocket. There we go. If I get it up high, you can see it. If I get it. You're creating a pocket for that there. There you go. For that blade to drop down into and then rotate back onto. It's just a place for it to go and set in. And you want that pocket to burn about halfway through your material. And if you see, I've got two struts going through there that's actually connecting that centerpiece there. But whenever you do the engraving, half of that strut is also being burnt away. So that's going to have an angle to it that one of the blades is going to go in here, drop into a pocket, and then rest against that half of that strut and allow that blade to rotate. Yeah, John, creating. And John, I think you also contributed to the fact that I screwed up. And I don't know, you mentioned, I think it was you that mentioned I did slots on the inside and tabs on the outside. Well, what I did wrong was they were all supposed to be slots, and we're going to look at that in a minute too. But yes, creating dados, and not everybody is going to be familiar with what a dado is, but using the laser to create a dado, but it's not going to have a matching dado to go in there. So what you want to do is take your material, go anywhere on your material. If you've got a 300 piece of material on here, just draw your rectangle. Doesn't really matter what size, or a square, and test these settings on this piece. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Undo selector tool. What I meant to do. Test that piece, and then if where is my? There it is. Then use your calipers. If you don't have a set of calipers, you need a set of these. It's hard to do laser work without these, especially if you're doing slots and tabs. Doesn't have to be digital, but you want to make sure that you've got a plunge gauge, and you probably, if probably all of them got one, you just didn't know that's what it was. But when you slide this out, you see that piece out there on the top, that's your plunge gauge. It slides out at the end. Push that out, and then after you've engraved that one little test pocket, take that plunge gauge and stick it in the material, and then push it down until you can look and say, okay, well, if my material is 3.1 millimeters and I got a 1.5 millimeter pocket, then you're perfect. Your settings are going to work. Metric or imperial, it doesn't matter. You want to do, you just want to be able to measure and know what your material thickness is, and you're looking to be able to do this crosshatch and burn about halfway through your material. And Bill's got a question. When showing items close up to the camera, tripod. No, mine doesn't have the autofocus. Mine's strictly an all mechanical focus. And if I was to hide my face or totally, it wouldn't matter because it's strictly manual focus. I went with that camera because I got tired of watching Patrick having to do all this to try and make it focus. But when you want it to, it won't unless I reach up here and grab it and start focusing it. So right here is good, and so I just leave it. Yeah. Calipers usually have both, and so it doesn't matter which way you work. In fact, I'm guilty of working in LightBurn in both. I'll do metric one half the time and and only when I need to know, well, how tall is it going to be? It's going to be 12 inches, and I'll switch over to inches because I like working with smaller numbers. So 12 inches versus 390 something millimeters. So anyway, I'm back and forth in LightBurn. All right. So do that test, create a small pocket, test those settings in a crosshatch, do a plunge test, and you want to have about half of your material burnt away. Less than half, you're not going to get a good rotate of that blade. Anything more than half, then it's going to get so fragile that it may break on you during the glue up. Now, about this piece, in addition to having those 10 places around the perimeter like that, see how that just broke? That I knew that was going to be too fragile. So that's why I did 2 of them. And the reason it's so fragile is because this is cut in half in 2 places. There's a cut there, so you can get your blades on there, and then there's a cut down here. So it's cut on either end of that. So this piece is fragile, and people are going to cut this out, and they're going to break it, and they're going to watch this video, and they ain't going to listen to me. They're going to cut too deep, and then because the cut is also with one of those rectangles, and they're going to struggle, they're going to cuss, they're going to fuss, but it's because they ain't following directions. So if you burn only through about halfway through, then you should be okay. I've glued up a bunch of these and haven't had a problem, but now that we're live, guess what? It ain't going to go to work. It ain't going to go together for me. It's going to bite me. But let's see here. Steve's in the house. Hello, Steve. Yeah, with autofocus, I don't know why they don't just hold up something like a 300 by 300 sheet of something between their face and yeah. I went with this to minimize all that. Like I said, it's very rare that I'm holding up something this small that I would really like to focus in on it better. But yes, this is fragile. It must be Italian. If you know, you know. I love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. All right. So, squirrel. All right. Now, I've talked to you about testing that. Once you've tested that pocket and you're able to do your plunge test and check that you've engraved halfway through the material, then you know those are the right settings for you. Do not trust that my settings that you download with the file are going to be the right settings for you, your material, and or your laser. So now back to LightBurn, and we'll get rid of this. All right, and so yeah, if I zoom in real tight, you can see I've got it on a blue line, but there's that blue line right there. That's the cut line for that one, and it's down here opposite this one. Let's see. These are 2 extra pieces that you can glue onto the side of the motor here and the weather vane. So it just adds some structural integrity to it, beefs it up, and it looks good. You've got your 4 sides. The 4 sides are identical. We talked about the wheel, talked about the kerf. This is the top piece that will snap in to the top. That's what that tab's for. This is going to be a snug fit because these come to a point. They're at an angle. So this is going to be square trying to go down into, so you may end up having to use a little persuasion, maybe even sand off a little bit of it, but it will go. I've done it in half a dozen of them. It fits, but it'll take a little bit of pushing. The way this motor works, it drops down through this top slot. These ears will come to rest on the top of that piece. And then the bottom of it, come on, cursor, there we go. The bottom of it will protrude far enough to go through a little over 3 millimeters of material. And this is an optional piece that you can slide in here and lock it to the bottom. I have not done that because I just put a couple of dots of glue on there. But depending on if you're in a household that these things are going to be handled a lot and people are going to be grabbing it and painting, then it might not be a bad idea to have that extra piece on the bottom to help lock that into place. Then this piece is, come on, this piece slides over this piece, obviously rotated, and then that's what actually locks your assembled windmill to the motor. The windmill will slide back up onto here. There is a 10 millimeter hole in the very center of the windmill, and that's what this is right here. It's 10 millimeters, so it'll slide right back up on there. If you are going to be using material that's going to vary from, and it's 3, and I've got it 3.5 millimeters. So if you're using material that's going to be anywhere from 2.8 millimeters to 3.1 millimeters, then you're not going to have to worry about that. But if you're going to scale this thing up and make it out of some bigger material, you want to pay attention to that and make sure that you've got enough room there to allow for your material to accommodate that. As you're scaling up, it's going to scale up and get larger anyway, but make sure that it's not going to be too big that the windmill is going to be sloppy loose, or not, or it's going to be so thin that that lock's going to make it tight and not want to let it spin. Let's see here. And whenever I get the fan fully assembled, I also will take once this is cut out, I'll take my sandpaper, a 320 sandpaper, and I will sand all of the burnt soot off of here and get that really good and clean and smooth and slick. And that will help facilitate the fan wanting to be able to spin freely. Not here, I'm sorry, here, around where the fan's going to sit. All right. Trying to think of everything I need to warn you about. Oh, you know what? Before I start the actual assembly, because I've already assembled a tower and got it ready to accept the fan blade and the motor and all. And we're going to assemble one of the fan blades here in a minute, because that's the tricky part. And there's some, and I've done it two or three different ways, cosmetically, because you can get different looks from it too. And this glue up in this live stream is going to be yet another way that I haven't done yet. And that's another chance for it to go blow up in my face, because I haven't done it this way yet. But before we do there, in the last live stream, I mentioned us, it'd be nice if they had a protractor, and I clicked on the measurement tool, and lo and behold, there it is. There's an angle measurement right there in the measurement tool. I've never paid that any attention until last week's live stream. And the fact that I never paid it any attention, I never really knew how to use it either. I know how to use a protractor. I even before I and on my laptop before I got this, I actually drew and created an actual protractor that I could import into my LightBurn and find angles of stuff because I didn't know that tool was there. And Clack was hollering at me in the last live stream, use the measurement tool, use the measurement tool. Well, I had used it and I knew what the angle was, but then I didn't know what to do with it. Well, I've learned what to do with it. And not only that, but I've shown y'all, and I love Control 2. Control 2 is awesome. It's really fun. And Control 2 might actually give you a more precise placement. But this measurement tool, using the angle in the measurement tool, worked faster, maybe easier. Chris says protractor does not work on a straight line if it is made from a curve tool. It was just I drew one. I created a semicircle and a flat line and created all the angles around it. So it was just like laying a protractor down on the top of the workbed. It was not. It blossomed from ignorance because I didn't know what I was doing. And I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. All right. But I'm learning. And like I said, I learned this week with this measurement tool. Let's jump in here to that. And then we'll jump into the assembly process because this is actually pretty cool. Let's go with LightBurn. All right. And I'm going to rather quickly draw out a rectangle that's going to be similar in size. We'll say it's going to be 4 inches wide and 12 inches tall. Not what I do, 12. There we go. And put it in line mode. All right. Now, this is a rectangle. I'm going to convert it to a path, show my nodes, and I'm going to do real quick, hit the letter M, and I'm going to recreate the shape of that tower. All right. So there was the basic shape. And now I needed to get my slots in here. And that's the other thing. In order to create those offset slots where you got a slot here and then that one's equally off, it is all slots, no tabs, all slots. And you need to do it with an even number. And it doesn't matter what number, as long as it's an even number. So here I've got one. This is 12 inches tall because that's what I drew it as, right? But if we take the measurement tool and we measure this piece, if we look here at LightBurn, is 12.0934 inches. And say, okay, let's go to metric. Go to 307.17 millimeters. When it's actually the height of it up here is 304. And that's because that angle has added length. And so you need to pay attention to this figure and not your original figure when you're creating your slots. So 307.17 millimeters. Say okay. And I want 12 of them. So I'm going to draw out a rectangle and I'm going to tell it needs to be 3 millimeters wide. And how big does it need to be? 307.17 millimeters divided by, and I hope you guys can see that up here, and I'm in the height measurement. 307.17 divided by, let's do 10. So that's, that was an easy number. Let's do it. Let's do 307.17 divided by 12. All right, so that's going to give me a slot that's right at an inch, 25.598 millimeters. Now, last time I created my array and then used the Control 2 to go over here and align it to this. But check this out. I need an array. Now that I've got that measurement, it's 25.598. And when you open up your array tool, it's also going to be right here in your total height, but it rounds it to 2 digits. It won't let you have 3 digits in the array tool. So that was rounded to 25.6 millimeters. And I'm going to give my Y spacing the exact same, 25.6. And how many rows do I need? 6 of them, because I wanted a total of 12. And it's total of 12 spaces. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then the one on the bottom is 12. So you're doing half of your total number that you needed. So 6 rows will give you 12 spaces. And say, okay. Now you've got your array. Now this is where last week I took and drew this down here to this corner. And I'm going to quickly do it because somebody may not be familiar with Control 2. You ain't seen it yet. But holding the control button and hitting the number 2 will open up this rotate ability. And I'm going to have to do some cleaning of my hard drive or something. I'm still locking up. But if I select here, select the first point, it gives you a red point there. And then you come up here to this one and you grab this one and you rotate it around, and I can stretch that out as far as I want to, but I'm going to come right up here to that corner and get my bullseye. And that'll align that to the exterior. I would moved it to the inside if I was going to align it to the inside. But I was just showing those who haven't seen Control 2. But this is how you can use the measurement tool to do the same thing. If you come back to your measurement tool and we come over here and we look at this line or this line, they're going to be the same. It tells you the angle right here, negative 82.9 degrees. Negative 80, that one's 82.9. This is negative 82.9. And what is that number going to do for you? Well, Dimitri was hollering at me in last week's live stream, subtract 90, subtract 90. And I'm going, okay, subtract 90. What's that going? Because I was in a complete fog because I'd never seen this. I hadn't worked with it. And it's basic geometry, but I hated geometry with a passion in school. But without having to do any math, without having to figure out 82.9, subtract 90, and that's a simple one to figure out for some folks. Some people have to scratch their head and think. You don't even have to think. This is perfect. And for Clack don't like math either. So he hates math. Don't think about it. Don't do math. Math is a 4-letter word. So instead of having to do math, we know that the angle is 82.9, whether it's positive or negative. Say, okay, well, we've created the array, but if you just select that array and just rotate it by hitting the greater than, that's going to rotate it to the flat 0. Now you come up here to your rotate tool, 82.9 degrees. And there is that. And say Control D, duplicate it, and then hit your mirror button, and there's your other one. And now what you need to do in order to create those offset slots, grab this corner piece and bring that corner and have it snap right into the corner at the top. Right there. And see that? There's where you get that funky little piece. Now this one, we're going to grab this one and bring it down to the bottom. Now this placement is a little bit tricky, but it ain't terrible because you don't want to do this, because if you do, it's not going to line up. This needs to line up with the bottom of that. So you're actually going to need to bring that up to here. And then once you get that aligned to the bottom, then you're going to use your, I go in here to my settings, the gears, and my control arrow is set to 0.002 millimeters. And then with that selected, I can hold my control button and my arrow button, And that's going to move in very slowly until I get it right where I want it. It's aligned to the bottom and it's aligned to the side. And now that is the perfect spacing to create those offsetting slots. They're both on the inside. And that's where I went wrong last week, Sharon, is I made those tabs instead of making them slots. In order to be, and the reason for doing it this way is this is going to give you the ability to cut out one shape that's going to be all four sides. You don't have to have two sides with slots and tabs and the other one that's the opposite slots and tabs. All right. But now that you've got, now here's one potential headache, one potential problem with this. If you take, those are grouped, and you can actually go ahead and hold your shift button and select that group and group those together. And then select your outer perimeter. That's A, hold your shift button and select your arrays, and then use your Boolean subtract, A subtract B. And that's not what I wanted, but that's actually what I was hoping would happen. Because now I want to show you how you fix that. This side worked. This side didn't. And the reason for that is, and this is why I think that using the Control 2 might actually be more precise, more exacting of a placement than using the measurement, the angle. Because when I put those there, you've seen it didn't, I married that to the top corner. But if we zoom in close to this, this was the one that didn't want to line up. You got a gap. This is not all the way up against the edge. But if I go up here to the top corner, it is. It's exactly where it needs to be. But this is easy to overcome. You can see how there's your gap. Just select that array. We need to ungroup so we get just that array. There we go. We got just that array. Now that is married into that top corner. So we know that it's at the right position up here. So now with that array selected, just come down here to the bottom, hold your control. Now, if you got your settings correct, your gears, go into gears like I just showed you. These are your shape movement increments. Control arrow is what I use for my smallest movement. And like I said, you can go all the way down to a 0.0001, but I do it to a 0.00002. And with that selected, hold my control button and just start arrowing it over until, and it's moving slow because it is 0.002. Getting there. And once you get it, and in fact, you don't even have to be exact. If you just let that go until even it goes over just a little bit, that's fine. Once it's over, you can, when you do your subtraction tools, we'll build those or group those back together. Hold shift, group them, and then select the perimeter, hold shift, select that, and do your subtraction. And now all those will work. And now once you've done that, because you had to take that out and beyond that outer perimeter, if we look at our lengths, our measurements, we look here, it's 2.98. That one's 2.99. This one up here is 2.92. So what you would want to do now is, and if you're going to be like, we need to make 4 of these for all 4 sides. Well, when you're making your very first one, and this is why I like doing this, because I'm going to be able to edit this one shape before creating the other 3 duplicates. And all I've got to do is make one and then just duplicate it 3 times. Unlike the other boxes where you're doing it, you're having to edit 2 shapes. But here I'm now going to, I didn't make LightBurn recognize which one of these are slots and which one of them are tabs. And all of these are slots. We don't want it to recognize anything as a tab. And we do that by how? By inserting a node. And we go to node editing. And we want all of these to be slots. And so these 4 right here make a tab. We don't want a tab. So just hit the letter M for middle, anywhere in there, just hover over that line. And you're going to do that on all of those. Now, once you've identified which are slots and which are tabs, just come back in here to your slots and resize slots and selection and set your material thickness to what you want it to be. Change your slot depth and say apply and okie dokie. And now when you look at your measurements on all of them, they're all going to be 3 millimeters. So you've just corrected that imperfection that was created by taking them out. And now you've made it all uniform. Now you've got one piece with all uniform slots. Everything's ready to go. And you can go in, create your inner pieces, do whatever. But using that angle, the measurement tool, identify what the angle is. And Chris, I think another question. That's a good question. We'll look at that. Chris said, would the gap be because of the rounding of the sizes? I don't think it's so much a rounding of the sizes. It might be, but I think it's a matter of it's only getting it down to 1/10 of a degree. But I don't know. Either whatever the reason it's doing it, it doesn't give you as precise, because whenever you're doing control 2, you're locking that first position in place and then telling it where to go to, regardless what the angle is. You're just assigning it a position. So it's going to a position and not to an angle. So control 2, I believe, is much more precise, but using the angle is quicker, and it's easy enough to overcome by just, if you don't even want to test it, if you know there's a good chance that it's not going to be perfect, you just take it a little bit past, weld them in, and then go in and use your resize slots and tool to make everything the right size. Brandon's got a question here. Could you use the docking tool on an angle? You can use the docking tool, but I think it would give you the same outcome where it's not going because, well, let's show you. It's going to make, once it makes contact, it's going to stop moving. So I don't know that it would give you any better result. Let me get this back to, there we go, and go back here. So Brandon's asking about using the docking tool. So if we take this, well, you couldn't use docking, and I forgot. Docking is only for docking pieces on the outside. So you wouldn't use docking, but you can use the alignment tool. Let's see here. We come back in here. We're going to ungroup those. So now we've got just this array. So if I got this array, in fact, I'm going to move it to an arbitrary spot. So I've got that array. Hold my shift key, select the perimeter, and tell it to align to the top. Then that's going to put that corner in the right spot, because that corner is the highest position in that array, and it will be lined up with the top of this. But if we tell it to dock to, well, and also docking only works when it's on the tool bed. Well, no, I forget. We eliminated that. Some of y'all figured out how to make it work, and I forget what it was. But mine works for me only when I'm on the tool bed. But now if I try to dock this up against here and tell it to dock to the right, and I had both of them selected, so it moved everything. So it does, and do I have pad? I got padding on. Let's go back, undo that, and let's fix it and do it right. So turn my padding off. Padding is how close you want it. I want it 0 padding, and I want to select just this array and dock it to the right. Dock right. And see, it doesn't go all the way up against it. It still leaves a gap, even though I told it to go all the way against it. because it's going to be touching somewhere, or else it would have. It's touching at the bottom. Yeah. So it made contact at the bottom before it did at the top. And if I take that to the inside and we use the alignment tool, hold shift and select that and tell it to align left. Well, that wasn't what I was expecting. Why did it jump outside? Let's put it down here. Tell it to align to the top. Come on. Select the array, hold shift, align to the top, and align to the left. Now, that is not what I was expecting it to do. I was expecting that to stay on the inside. But hey, we're getting we're getting off subject. Because the one thing I preach to you guys all the time, there is only one way to do things in LightBurn, and it's the Hobo way, and any other way is absolutely and totally wrong, and you're an idiot if you do it any other way than what I tell you to. There's 100 ways to do something, and we can explore all 100 of them, but we won't get to put a windmill together. All right. We got looks like we got some flirting going on, and I hadn't seen what's happening here because I haven't been able to watch all of my stuff. Let's see here. Sharon says, thanks to all the good advice. It's nice talking to you. And Brad's like, well, yeah, it's nice talking to you. Y'all quit flirting in my chat. Can we look at 99? Then that would be another 5-hour live stream, and we're not going to do that. Yeah, and in fact, then Brandon says, why not? We got 4 hours to go. Yeah, y'all some smarty pants. Smarty britches, smarty britches. All right, I'm trying to make sure that I covered everything I wanted to talk to you about what I learned. I learned that, like I said, that angle is actually really cool, being able to rotate it to a fixed position. Just know it's not going to be as exacting as Control 2 is, but, you know, maybe you think it's quick. It's just another way. It's just another way. So I think what we want to do now is go put a fan together. I've learned a lot from you. I'm a beginner at the lathe. Well, Clayton, thank you. And I'm a beginner. I'm learning every week, guys. I'm learning. I've been doing this for 2 years. And then, like I said, until last week, I never even seen that angle in the measurement tool. You know, there is a ton of information in there. Yeah, Chicago Bob says, not forget the most important thing, go gold. Yeah, guys, if you appreciate what I'm doing on Hobo with Wood, and if you like this file and all the other files, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. Patreon.com/Hobo with Wood. The gold, and what Bob's referring to is the gold supporters is $20 a month. And for a gold supporter, they get all of my files for free, all of them. And April was a bad month for me because I got real sick and I fell off the wagon, the LightBurn wagon, didn't get anything done. But I don't know. I've put up, dozens of files this year. And my files are not your average Etsy file most of the time. A lot of times they can be like this, where they're pretty intricate or really fun stuff to do. I'll do some simple stuff, especially on request, but I like a challenge. I like a challenge, and we're getting ready to see a challenge. We're going to put this fan together. So I've got a camera set up over here. And I'm trying to pay attention. I'm trying to do better with the comments. But Kevin, the different variances in the time slots on Saturday are to accommodate folks around the world. When I try to do 5 or 8, then it's so late for the guys in UK and other parts in the Eastern Hemisphere that it's just not accommodating to them. So, and you can always watch replays, but I try to accommodate as many folks as possible. And then plus, tonight is when that other channel goes live, and I don't want to be heads up with them. So I don't want to create any conflict. There's enough as it is. So at 3 p.m., live streams for Hobo are 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. All right. So I've set up a camera. And let's see here. Where's my cursor at? Where did it go? There it is. Hide you. I got a camera set up in a small work area here. In fact, let me clean this up. This one, don't need it anymore. This one, it was wrong too. And that one was a bad one. All right, that we need. Oh, now I'm gonna show you when designing this. I went through, and now, if you're still with us, Steve Ventari, I've watched yours, and I can't remember, and I don't remember if it's Fusion or which one, but the ability to draw out in the creations in 3D, man, that is cool. And I wish I had and I haven't learned. I have the ability, but I haven't learned it. I don't have it. I don't own it. I can't purchase it. It's not in the budget right now. But if I had the ability to draw it out, a design in 3D and test it, I wouldn't have to do all this. But by doing all of this, I learned so much with each step of the design process. This was the first ring of the fan to see, okay, if you see this is just a solid ring. There's none of the engraving was done, none of those cross hatching. And when I put this in here, it rotates a little bit, but not nearly enough to my likings. So I was like, okay. So I learned, yes, you can cut this and get your on there and it go back together, but that didn't work either. And then I did this design, and it's got a little bitty wheel in here, and this was a separate wheel, just like that. It was just the outer ring. Then I created the inner gear, and then I had to try and get this in place, hold that in position, and glue that up to that fan and this, and hold that wheel and this. And I said, the heck with that. So then I come up with this design. And this piece is what's in the design now. And it has a cross member that connects the inner ring to the outer ring. So you're not having to hold all that into place. And I changed the shape of the fan and the spokes. And like this has even got modified. See how wide those little ears are on the bottom of the fan blade in comparison to the spokes on that inner wheel. Well, I modified that even so that they were the same size, and now they're practically completely hidden. So every time I did a prototype, every time I did something, I learned something new and changed something else. So I've gone through this week since last Saturday, I've gone through half a dozen or more designs on the fan until we come up to this one. And you may go try to put it together and say, well, hey, I can see another way to do that. Because why? There's more than one way to do these things. All right, so now I've got that all cleaned up. Switch cameras. And we're going to go here. We're going to go here. Now, don't you be laughing at my workspace. This is I'm trying to do this. This ain't where I work. I'm trying to do this for filming purposes for you. So since I'm doing it for you, no laughing. No, and at my struggles. All right. So switch. All right. So I've got all my pieces in here for I don't need my motor yet. So I'm going to set it out of the way. Need all my fan blades. Don't need that. Don't need that. Okay. All right. Cross our fingers that we're not going to break this one. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to take 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you got 5 more. Because you're going to put 5 on one half and 5 on the other half. And you're going to do this ever so gingerly. And what I'm going to do different on this glue up than over the last one, this one, I've got those cross members that join the 2 circles facing outward. I'm going to try and put them behind the blade so that they're hidden completely, and also have the little ears on the fan blade. I'm going to try and put the ear behind it like I did here. So I'm doing a different process than what I've done before. So I'm trying to explain it as I go here. So this side of it has got half of that strut burn away. There's your complete side, and there's half burn off. So I'm going to place this on here. Do it like a key ring, a key to your car. Just slide it up. I'm going to try and keep this little ear behind that inner wheel. Slide it up. You don't want to use a whole lot of pressure because you don't want to break it. And once you get it on there, just slide that down here, out the way, ever so gingerly. Now this one's going to need to go all the way to the bottom. You don't need to do it right now, but it's going to have to go there eventually. Same thing again. Just repeat the process. Keeping that little ear behind the wheel, and there we go. And then slide her down and around. Don't have to worry about placement right now. Just getting it on the wheel without breaking the wheel. All right, there's one side. Come on, baby. This one's a little bit more fragile, I can tell. I see some comments popping up, but I can't see the screen. I'm gonna wait till I get these all in position, and I'll look and see who's saying what. And then we're gonna have some fun, guys. I'm gonna call out a few people on some of the YouTube comments. We're gonna have some fun here if y'all hang around. But I want you to see this because this is not your typical fan mill from Etsy. Windmill. I searched on Etsy and looked at all the different windmill files that are out there for sale, and almost all of them have got a windmill that the blades are just cut out and it's all one piece, and they don't have any articulation to them. They're not twisted, they're not moving. It's just a flat. That's easy. I don't like easy. I like a challenge. Let's see what all the comments were. Steve says, I learned SketchUp years ago and it's hard to have it break. Fusion 360 is even better. And Jack in the shop, and I knew about Fusion 360, and Jack turned me on to, I think there's a free version or a limited version. I've played with it for about that long, but and I will eventually get better versed with it, but because I think that's what I really want to do. But the idea of designing strictly in LightBurn, I can guarantee that anybody that buys my files for a LightBurn application, they're not going to have any problem with my file from a design standpoint because it was made in LightBurn, and I like that. Yeah, creative camera angles hide the mess in my workshop most of the time. Yeah, you don't want to see the rest of my workshop. I promise. Um, I'm guessing, Lyle, you've got to this point of the assembly process. I'm guessing. Uh, Not sure if that's what you're talking about. Because, like I said, this file is already available on hobowithwood.com, and it is on sale today. It's on sale today for $6.99. After today, it'd be $9.99. Because everything on Etsy is $7 and $8 and $9, and it ain't nearly as nice as this. And if you want something that's easier to assemble, then maybe you get one of theirs. But mine's better. Chris says, I wonder if an acrylic hub and wheel will be a little less fragile. I don't think so, because this I'm working with 1.5 millimeters. And the acrylic at that point would also be pretty darn fragile. All right. And Lyle says, I broke it. And that might not be a bad idea, is if you cut it out, Lyle, because Lyle jumped on LightBurn or Hobo with Wood and downloaded the file before we even went live. So he was hoping to assemble it as we were. But Lyle, if you did not do a test burn, that's why I said it's crucial that you test the settings, and you only burn through about half of your material for that pocket. And if you're trying to do it on anything less than 3 millimeter wood and you burn away half of it, it's going to be really fragile. So make sure you test that engraving depth and make sure you're not going too far. And it hopefully will be easier. But there is room. In fact, I'll scoot over here back to LightBurn real fast. That's not LightBurn. This is LightBurn. If you download the file, and you see this takes up a full sheet of 300 by 300 material, but you got plenty over here. Until you've done this once or twice, or you know for sure exactly what you're going to be doing, you might want to just grab this and make sure you grab it all, because it's not grouped and there's all those squares to cut pieces. You might say Control D, duplicate it, and then bring that down here and cut out 2 or 3 extra whenever you're doing it. Just because it has it until you've done it a few times, and I keep going to the wrong camera. Till you've done it a few times and you really get a feel for it and get those settings just right, it may be too fragile for you and snap it off. But now let's show you how I glue this up. So I've got all of them placed on there without breaking it. Swap camera. Now I just use some CA glue. I got this on Amazon, CA glue and a little bit of activator. And this is the medium CA glue, so it's a little bit thicker. Now, the first thing I do is, once you've got all those on there and you've got that extra weight on there, do not pick it up from here or here. Pick it up from that center wheel. That's sturdy. That's not going to break. You pick it up from here and you're liable to break it off. But once you've got all of your pieces on there, first thing you do, very first, number one, glue these together, glue them up, and make that a solid wheel again. So I just put a little, and I do it with the same principle, where I will pull that, use my finger, push that out just a little bit. You don't want to glue your finger to it, but get a little dot right there on the tip. And that one's a big dot. And once you got that on there, and this is all going to be hidden behind a fan blade, so it's not going to matter if it's a little bit too big. I got that on there, and then just hold that in position. Make sure you're lined up where you want it to be. Give it a little spray. and repeat. These are in my way now. I moved it. Don't want to force anything. Take your time and let them slide on their own. Get it down out the way. There we go. And now, same thing. I'm going to push that out just a wee bit. Put a dot on it. There we go. That's much better. And position it back in place. And give her a little activator. All right. Now that you've done that, it's not going to be quite as fragile. Now with that in place, slide this one back around over here. And we're going to put a little dot of glue in that pocket. Then bring that over here, put it in the pocket. Get it on there. There you go. And then rotate it. And then hit it with a little activator. Rotate that one up. Put your little glue in the pocket. Drop it in the pocket and rotate it. Repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But this one's super fragile. I got a bubble on that one. This one almost burnt all the way through, irregularity in the material. So this, I'm going to give it a good dollop to fill that up. And careful not to break it because it's really fragile. And I just noticed that this gives me a different alignment position doing it this way. I told you, I have not done it this way, and it was going to bite me. And I just noticed it bit me. So don't do it this way. And I'll show you the difference in a second. Get it in the slot. There you go. And rotate it. All right. Now I'm going to show you why that bit me in the butt. Told you I was going to glue it up in a different way than I've done any of the other half dozen I've done. And by doing it this way, it don't line up. This way worked better. And this is me being nitpicky. But that's the way I do all my designs. I nitpick them to death. If you look at the back of this, the little bitty pins on the fan blade, they line up with the spurs on that inner gear. Because when I glued them up, I glued them up with those ears on the top, not behind. Whenever I was sliding those on like a key to begin with, I put those little ears below the inner hub and slid them on. Well, by doing it that way, it caused them to have a misalignment. they do not line up with the spurs on the gear. So don't do it that way. If you want the spurs those to line up, put those little ears up on top, just like I did this one, and they'll line up. And actually what I did here was when I glued the fan onto the fan mill or the windmill, I glued it on backward. And that made me rethink how I put them on. But yes, David, instant curing with this CA glue and this activator. It's as soon as you spray it, there ain't no moving it, there ain't no undoing it. It's done. If you were talking to me about that. All right. So that's the glue up process. I'm not going to continue on with those remaining 5 because it's just repeating the exact same thing I just did. And now I see that I don't like it. So I don't even want it. It's done too. But I need to finish the assembly process. Let me go get that. I don't need to finish gluing these up, but I'll show you the rest of the assembly process. Let's see here. Trying to catch up on all the comments. Yeah, well, I broke a few of them in the beginning. And that's why I said, don't lift it from here. Don't pick it up from there. Only handle it from the inner piece. These are things that I learned, and the way I learned them is the hard way. I've already done all this. I've already broke them. So I'm trying to keep you from breaking them. And let's see here. And Lyle, you may not have broken it had you waited, because that might have been what you did. Maybe you picked it up from that one piece and it was just added too much leverage to it. It snapped it off. Let's see here. Yeah. So yeah, the activator, I forget what I think it's just alcohol, I think. And but what, yeah, it just it dries that glue up instantly. No, it didn't break. When I threw it, it didn't break. Well, Cliff, I could, but I want to, and which I'm not going to glue all these in position, but I'm going to finish with the assembly process so you can see what I'm doing here to create this look. Yeah, and so Chris says, yeah, the activator is pretty much just alcohol, and the alcohol sucks all the moisture up out of it and just dries it up. Done. Steve says it's often acetone based. All right. And I've seen people use baking soda if you want to make almost like making a concrete. You fill it full of CA glue and then take your baking soda and add it to it and pack it in there, and then it help fill a hole. Gives it some substance other than just the glue. All right, now back to the assembly. Turn that off. Switch the camera. Switch. All right, so like I said, I'm not going to glue those up because, yeah, I could actually break those off and reuse them on another piece that has them oriented better. But on the windmill, or on the weather vane, and that's the motor on the windmill, and that's the weather vane, or the wind direction. But I've got 2 pieces like that, and they are to be glued up on the external, either side, one on either side, like so, and it just gives it. If you look at an actual windmill, you'll see that this is how it's done, because the blade or the the vane is going to have those. That's how the vane's attached to the windmill. So this was done purely for looks, to add and also to add some structural integrity to the piece, just like the actual windmill. But I did that because that when you go look at any images, that's how you see it. And that leaves a space over here that you can put your little logo on, like I did. And also you can put a little brand here on the motor if you wanted to. I'm not going to bother gluing those up. But once you've got the fan completely assembled, in fact, you know what? I'd probably put the fan on last. I would get my top piece of my tower, and I've already hard to fix this one to this one. It ain't coming off. If you wanted to put this piece on, you would actually slide that through, and that's going to hit those ears, and it's going to come to a rest just like that. It's as far as you can push it in. Then you can take this little piece that you cut out here and slide it in there, and you'd want to do that before you put this into position, because if you don't, you can't really, there's no access. You're not getting in there to that. So if you want to put that little piece on there, you need to do it before you put that into your tower. But like I said, I didn't use it before, and I'm not going to use it now. What did I just, there we go, my glue. I'm going to put a little dot of glue on either of those ears. And slide it into place. And making sure to hold it good and flat. Aim it right. Now that's glued on there. Now with that glued on, the fan will go on, and it's going to ride it. And actually, before you put the fan on, if you, and somebody mentioned this the other day, a little bit of wax, a little candle wax, or a little bit of crayon or something to help. But just on that little ledge where the fan's going to ride, I think and clean that up and get all the soot off of it, and even put a little bit of a taper, a little bit of rounded edge on it. Knock the edge off of that so it's kind of rounded over. Same thing on the bottom side of it. And I ain't talking about a ton of pressure, just a little bit. This is 320, and I'm just cleaning up the burnt area and rounding over that edge. And then when you put the fan on, it's going to be a nice snug fit, but it's going to want to spin freely. But now with the fan on, if that's all glued up in position, and it's out of balance now because I don't have the blades on it, take this piece here, and this piece is going to be long enough to actually come in contact with that center hub of the fan, and that'll help keep the fan perfectly parallel or perpendicular, and there's just enough clearance between the fan and the windmill and the tower for it to clear over. And that's all there is to it, boys and girls. This is, the tricky part is getting the fan blades on that hub assembly without breaking it. And the trick to that is doing the engrave test to begin with, to make sure you got the power right. You want to go through about half of your material, but not more than half. Don't want to get it too fragile. All right. Any questions, comments? What's this? Not that one. Use the one still in the box. Oh, duh. Yeah, I grabbed the wrong one. But same principle. But thank you for noticing. The difference is this one's got a little contour on it. I put a little bullet shape on it. So whenever it goes on, it matches the other side. And this one I actually glue into place. Once I've tested everything and it's right, then I put a little bitty dot on there and glue it. Make sure that you don't get any glue on the fan because you don't want that to become glued in place. So like I said, just a tab, just a little bit on there and glue that up. But yes, I grabbed the wrong piece, but same principle. It goes on and hits up against there. Thank you, John. Mark says, if you make a hole on the top of the tower so the fan mechanism can rotate to follow the wind. And actually I thought about that, but it's not, and if you're going to make it bigger and you're going to put it outdoors and you want it to be a functioning piece, then yes, absolutely. You'd want to do that. You would want to make it so that instead of it mounted in a rectangular position, you'd put it in a round hole like you was talking about and make it so that it could rotate with the wind. Absolutely, if it's going outdoors. But for these little bitty ones that I'm doing here for indoors, the reason I did not make them rotating is because I had the idea of later on. Remember, last week I was working with gears and I'm working with clockwork and I'm going to be doing some, the gumball machine. I did that. And I'm going to make a big piece of artwork that just has a bunch of rotating gears. Well, this, I've been playing with the idea of, it could actually be, I could actually put small gears on it attached to a small motor, build a little well house for it, if you will, that had a little small well house that would sit behind it that actually is going to house the motor, the little electric motor, and have it come out and attached to an axle that would go up to the top and to the gears and have so that it could be an electric windmill. So it could be just electrically driven. And if you did that, you wouldn't want all that movement. It need to be hard fixed in place. Yep. Oh, Chris ran out of, he ran out of caffeine. Got to get. That's how he's always up. He's always up. Any other questions, comments? Because now what I'm going to do is touch base on a couple of comments and attitudes. Hey, I try to let things go. But, and I don't know, I was brought up around a lot of passive aggressiveness, and I don't like it. Don't like it at all. I don't tolerate it, not well. But let's see here. Come over here. No, here. Go to YouTube and go to studio comments. So in the last video I did this week is when I did those stupid planters, and my neighbor took down his cedar fence and he's piled up and he's going to haul it all off to the scrapyard. And I was like, man, that's a lot of expensive wood. What would it take to make something out of that? And so I wanted to see. And so I reclaimed a few pieces of that wood and I uploaded a video showing what I did, how I did it, and I told you in the last live stream I was going to do it and told you that it would be just full of music that you could just listen to and watch while I do what it was going to be for entertainment purposes only, not very educational, just I'm going to go do this. I'm going to see what I can do with it. What can be done with it? What's it going to take to save any of it? And yeah, Russ, all that action stuff that could be done. But there's always one, and I'm struggling. I think I've still got a few hangers on, and I am blessed to have the support with this channel that I've got, and I'm thankful for the supporters, my patrons. I'm thankful for just the regular subscribers, and thankful for each and every you for hanging out with me on a Saturday afternoon while we sit here and BS about useless little stuff. But the hateful comments and all that, I received quite a few emails and comments I actually deleted, because in that video showing me doing all that process, I did all that wood processing out on the front porch. And so there they seen my rig, and the rig's been in a few videos, but a few people's like, oh man, that's a nice truck. You poor mouthing everybody, you need support, and you're driving a $300,000 truck. I'm not driving a $300,000 truck. I'm driving a big Freightliner to pull my RV. But that truck is, what year is this? This is 20. That truck's 18 years old. It don't look like it's 18 years old because it's in pristine condition, but it's an 18-year-old truck. And it cost me less than a Ford F-350. And I'm pulling a tri-axle 20,000-pound RV. That's what I live in. That's where Hobo come from. I live in an RV, and I needed something that could pull a 20,000-pound RV, and I couldn't afford a brand new Ford. And this 18-year-old Freightliner cost me less than a newer Ford truck does. And for the diesel owners out there, this Freightliner has got the last year they used the Caterpillar engines in it. So it's a big Caterpillar big block that's pre-def. It doesn't have the diesel exhaust fluid mess in it. So it's low maintenance. It's a dependable motor that's going to go for 1,000,000 miles. And like I said, and it cost me less than a Ford F-350. But I had some haters blowing up, and I've deleted all the nasty comments, but they even pulled up the email too. But you poor mouthing, support me, help me, support me, and driving the truck like that, blah, blah, blah. Well, step off. You don't know what you're talking about, because that's a cheap truck. And it gets the same fuel mileage as an F-350. So it's not like it's costing me any more to operate. And it cost me, if you go to the Ford dealership and look at the price of a new truck, they're over $100,000 for an F-350, which is stupid. This cost a whole lot less than that. So that flew all over me. But I also had this, and this guy was, these kind of comments. I didn't bother deleting it because I love responding to them. I don't love it, but I can give as good as I get. So switch. And so, where? Okay, this guy. So Gary Altman, 2113, talking about the reclaiming the wood. I guess it's important to watch someone grind wood for about 10 to 15 minutes. Really? You're so self-important that you felt like that your comment was needed to be said. And I just replied to him, no one said it was important. Some find it entertaining. Reclaiming wood can sometimes produce really nice pieces. In this case, 2 nice pieces and 1 not so much. But thank you for taking the time out of your day to make such an informative and educational comment. The world would not be the same without your critical input. And only after I left that other channel did these things start up. And if you're in that other camp, just go to that other camp. and leave me the hell alone. Because for those who follow the channel, I said, hey, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be for entertainment. It's going to be just for fun. It's not going to be for any other thing. I cannot stand the idea of sitting down in front of the TV and watching a golf match. What's the point? But folks do. Now, if I need to go to sleep and I can't go to sleep, man, if you can turn on the golf channel, I'm out in a minute. That is some of the most monotonous and boring thing. Okay, he's approaching the tee, and now he's going to get, what's he using? He's using his driver. Oh, wow, look at it. And even when they get excited, it's the same monotone. And the object is to get this ball into that hole. And what we're going to do, we're going to do it 18 times. I played golf. I was on the golf team, but I can't stand the idea of watching golf. But folks find that entertaining. Some folks find just the idea of watching the reclamation of the wood. Okay, yeah, and that's all it was entertainment purposes. But if you don't have anything better to do, then, in fact, who was it that put up here? Robert said, troll. If you want to be a troll, that's fine, but beware. I will give as good as I get, and I've lost some patrons because of this. People who make like I said, that passive aggressive comments about, well, that's not the right way. Well, excuse me. I'm not a professional, and I am doing this for a living, but I'm doing it as entertainment. I'm not a professional, and technically, I think that's what determines if you're a professional. If you're a professional ball player, if you get paid for doing it. So the fact that I'm getting paid for what I'm doing, I guess I am a professional. But I got no experience at what I'm doing here. I'm learning as I go, and I thought it'd be fun for people to go along for the ride. If you have got some constructive criticism, I invite that, and educate me. It's like, I didn't know anything about those nylon brush, not nylon, whatever the brushes you guys use for applying glue. I was just using my finger because I didn't want to use a regular paintbrush, but silicone brushes. I never heard of a silicone glue up brush because I hadn't seen it used before. But I've got some on order that'll be here. And someone commented about, hey, silicone brushes are a great way to apply glue because once it dries up, you just peel it off and you can use the brush again. So that was constructive and that was helpful, but not well, that was the wrong way to do that. The correct way to do that. I don't care if you've been a patron from the very beginning of time. It's not what you say, but how you say it. I try to have fun. I try to keep things light and entertain you. But I will not get nasty, but I'll call you out on your nastiness. But my request is, if you're just wanting to be a troll for being a troll, I'm either just going to delete your comment or fire right back at you and point out your stupidity. But if you're from that other camp that just wants to be harass me, get a life, move on, go away. And it's not that when I say that the other camp or that other channel, I don't call any of it by name because I don't even want the algorithm to associate me with that any longer. I don't want to feed the beast in any way. I just want it to be done and over. So go away, trolls. Go bye-bye. Get a life. And in fact, just on that same video, here's Gary saying, oh, I guess it's important to watch somebody grind wood for 10, 15 minutes. The very next person's, hey, great video. Cool truck too. And then there was someone else. Let's see here. A lot of people they expressed interest in what the truck, and that was all fine and dandy. Nice truck. What is it? The truck got a lot more attention than the job did. But here, Ed Rivera, Ed says, "Hey, great job! I enjoy the video. Thank you, Steve." There was some more that they talked about, hey, they liked the video because it was done just for entertainment purposes. I went to a lot of trouble to find some really good music to put in there because there was nothing to do besides, and I sped everything up. The 10 to 15 minutes of grinding wood was, half a day. I just sped everything up so you didn't have to watch it all the time. So anyway, I love it, Chris. Chris Gallagher says that golf is a good way to ruin a good walk. Yep. And Jay says, I just got here. I really like the staggered joints on the tower. Yeah, Jay, if you just got here, I went through that process. It's really, really simple. It's just a matter of you don't do you do all slots, no tabs, all slots, all inner slots. Don't put anything on, nothing, because to go outside, it's a tab. Make everything inside, all slots, but you create an even number of them. So you create 10 of them or 12 of them, and then offset them. You start one side at the top and you start the other side at the bottom. And then that one piece, everything, you've got one piece for all four sides. It's a really slick way to do it. And I'm sure it would work with your boxes or this, but it also gives it a really good look, a different look than everybody else's finger joints. I'm trying. Sometimes I can read, but unless I read it out loud, I don't understand. Hobo, I honestly love listening to you, Clack, and Steve. Really care less whatever is going on. Yeah. I like. I learned a lot from Dave and Clack Shack in my early days with my struggles with my X tool, and the information I gleaned from him really, really helped me a lot, and that's how I found Steve in the Venturi workshop, and I like watching his stuff. Hey, guys, if you haven't seen Steve's video on making the phone holder where he's got it turned into a hearth with a fireplace, you need to go over to Venturi's workshop and find that. I was going to do one and make it a console TV from the 70s, had it almost completely designed, and then realized, and I was going to do it holographic instead of actually looking at the screen. His is cool as can be. With the YouTube videos you can get where you got the fireplace, you can drop it in there and it looks like a little miniature fireplace. It's really slick. I was going to do it so that the phone sat on top, and then created with the clear acrylic. I think you created a holographic type of image. But the problem with that is all the phones are 16:9. All the videos on YouTube are 16:9. And I was trying to create an old 70s console TV. There wasn't anything out there to actually create the look I was going for. So I ended up scrapping the whole thing. But that fireplace is really, really cool. If you haven't seen that, jump over there and check that out. Yeah, and Brad said he liked the video as well. Yeah. Not everyone would think of reclaiming material like that, not only to save money, but to help from filling up the landfill. Yeah. And and what I learned from that was I got two really good pieces that I did prior to doing the video, and created the first planner and the second planner. And the third design I was doing was what you seen recorded in the video. And that piece of wood, they all had a terrible crown to them because of the age and the warping and the sun. But I was able to plane the others down and made them look good. But this the piece that was in that video had so much weather cracking that the wood was like a sponge. It was just like it was almost like a living hinge, because it would just flex. So as it went into the planer would flatten it down, and as soon as it come up, it'd just go back. And then when I was trying to glue it up, it just had so much spring to it that I had to use 1,200 clamps to even glue it up. And then eventually it even wanted to warp back. And then, so it was just a bad piece of that was a bad one to try and reclaim. So when you're working with old wood and trying to reclaim it. And it's not always going to work out. Well, Dale, I enjoyed coming up with this design, and this was Dale's suggestion. Everybody, he made a bunch of them, but this one was the one that grabbed me right off the bat. And I said, you know what? Yeah, that'd be cool, and maybe even make it motor driven with the gears. I could work with my gears and make that. So yeah, and thank you for your support. The trolls help the analytics community interactions, but they do wear on the content creator. Yeah, and that's why I don't delete them all, Steve, because they do help with the analytics. And for those that are not just truly nasty, I'll fire back at them and just, let them know that hopefully that they see I'm not passive aggressive. I'll just be aggressive, and maybe they won't come back. But if they do, and it stays, a tit for tat, and it's not really nasty, hey, they're feeding the algorithm. I'll let it go. I'll keep it up. But for the true jerks, I just boot them, block them. Done. So how many videos do they? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Talking about the trolls. Yeah. What are they putting out? Yeah. A lot of you, and the folks that are still here now, 81 of you still sitting here after an hour and 50 minutes and now I'm just ranting, and you're still here hanging out. You're my supporters. You're my peeps. So you're all in agree. And I use this word now just as a joke. You guys are all in agreement with me. And if you don't, and for those maybe in different parts of the world, you're not familiar with agreements. Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit caught a lot of flack at one of the award shows where he accepted an award and something, and he made in his speeches, yeah, I'm in total agreement, and it just blowed up. Agreement. Where did he get this word? Well, he actually went to my high school. So I'm like, okay, well, if Fred Durst can use it, I guess I can use it too. So you guys are all in agreement with me. So, yeah, I'm not a big, no, the apple's not bad. I'm not a fan of blackberry anything, but I wanted to get it to try it. So I got to wipe all the dust off this. I don't never open this stuff up, but this apple pie is not bad. The original is what I used to make the pineapple. Now that I like because but this sweet and burn. Woo! That's John Schneider's Revenuer's Reserve. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. They can ship it to you. Yeehaw! That's what it'll make you do. No, I'm going to get in trouble, but facts are a fact. I don't have a filter on my mouth, but we were raised what to say, and honestly, that what doesn't need to be said, be nice or keep stepping. Now, you ain't got something nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Yeah, I think that's what you're saying. And now we're going to get Chicago Bob's chiming in. I haven't seen him in the chat much here, except in the beginning. He says, may I offer an opinion now and then? I may offer an opinion now and then, but I really like to learn other ways to do things. The more ways you learn, the better a maker you become. Just my 2 cents. And yes, Chicago Bob, yeah, I have never felt like any of your comments have ever been passive aggressive or correcting. Any and all your comments have always been welcome. And like I said, and it's because I was raised in that passive aggressive atmosphere that I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Uh, you know, I've done that on some videos, and I use that song. I forget what it's called. It's Happy Sax or something. Uh, but the theme song. Problem with that is you get into licensing issues and all kinds of stuff like that. And that was actually at about 500 times speed. It was sped up quite a bit. Let's see here. Yeah, Valerie. Valerie said the music was awesome. Yeah, I go out of my way to really try and find music that I appreciate and stuff that's some of it I'll actually have to buy the license for if I really, really like it. And it's sometimes just reflects the mood I'm in. There ain't no telling what it'll be. Sometimes it's Americana, sometimes it's folk, and sometimes it's classical, sometimes it's comedic, but I enjoy putting that stuff together. Well, Aggie, just like Steve said, the trolls, they feed the algorithm, and so I don't delete them all, but I just felt like, I wanted to, because for the one or two trolls that are out there who are going to make a comment, there might be a half a dozen more that feel the same way, but they ain't gonna say nothing. And the biggest concern I had was, I depend on my patrons. If it wasn't for my patrons, I'd have been long gone. And I am, because this YouTube ain't paying no bills. Not for me, not in this click, and not with the small subscriber count that I've got. I'll get $400, $450 a month from Google, and that's it. And if it wasn't for my patrons, I would not be able to do this. Because I'm not on disability. They turned me down. I can't get a job. Nobody will hire me because I'm a health risk. I'm risk, I guess, because of my health condition, and I couldn't get a job as a driver because while every company wants to hire me, the insurance companies won't because of my health condition. And for my CDL license, I would have to go and take a physical every year to keep my license. And even though I pass the physical every year that the insurance company requires you to take, the insurance company still says, no, sorry, you passed, but you're still a risk and we won't hire you. So even though the company wants to, the insurance company won't insure you, so you can't get a job. So I can't get a job as a driver. And, I said, you know what? I'll find a way. And right now, this is what I'm doing, what I've found a way. But I had those comments, that the emails I was getting about people going, man, that sure is a nice truck. That $350,000 truck. And you driving and you poor mouth and you need this, and you please support me that. Well, since I've been out on my own, you haven't heard me say, hey, guys, super thanks down below. If you like what you're doing, hit me up. Thank you. Hey, help me up, buy me a biscuit. I quit. I'm taking a page from Clack and from Steve. You don't see them doing that. They're not constantly hitting you up for this. Now, I will ask you and tell you that if you want to support the channel, go over to patreon.com/hobowithwood. Become a patron supporter. It is greatly appreciated, and it is. But if you like my files and you like my designs, you like making stuff, and you're not taking what I'm teaching you and just making your own, $20 a month to get all my files for free, that's a darn good deal. If you're buying files off of Etsy, I promise you they're not going to be LightBurn quality like mine are. But, for that one or two people that's making the comments, a half a dozen or more are thinking it, and I wanted to kind of clear it out. I mean, that's an 18-year-old truck. It looks nice and it's impressive. And man, and somebody just did that. Who was that? Is that Jeff? Who is that? Somebody just throwed up a super. Now I did not say that just to make somebody do that, because that's not what I'm not asking you to donate. But I appreciate you. I can't see the name. I think it's Jeff did that. I just see a little sticker there. I'll get to it in a minute. But thank you. Well, I deleted a couple, and I received a few emails too that people didn't see. And Gigi says, Brad says, Gigi needs more airtime. Well, For some reason, I thought she was a tiny dog. No. Well, she's 36 pounds. She's Husky German Shepherd, but she's a small Husky Shepherd. And she's over there in her bed with her stuffed animals, cozy as can be. And if I try to get her to come over here and get on my lap, she's not a lap dog. She don't want no part of it. She is a camera hoe. She loves. I used her in my commercials for my tire shop, and whenever I tell the production team, "Yeah, my dog's gonna be at there," really, dog? Because one rule you got when in filming is you don't work with kids or animals because they're totally unpredictable, and you can never. You need somebody just to wrangle them to get them. That dog, she was all about the camera and a camera hog. She just loved it. She'd just pose and do her thing. So she'd love it, but she don't want to be in my lap. The other day during that tornado is the first time in probably 6 or 7 years that she's ever willingly crawled into my lap, and she was scared to death. I really like it a lot. Brandon's asking you, how do I like my planer, my joiner? This is something else that I'm just learning, guys. I bought those because of those really beautiful pieces of wood that I've got that I want to do the book matching with. And so I needed a planer in order to do that. And for those, not a planer, a joiner. And for those who don't know what a joiner is, I don't fully understand what a joiner is because that's why I just call it the planer. I keep inverting the two. A joiner, you've seen the old guys, the classic woodsmiths where they take the wood planes, they run down the edge of it, and they're planing it down. They're getting a nice, flat, even edge. Well, if you're going to glue two pieces of material together, they need to have a seamless glue up. You need to have perfect flat edges to do that with. And that's what I use the joiner for. I can take and run each piece down that joiner and get a nice flat edge. They glue up nice and pretty. The planer, I looked at a couple of different planers. I looked at a Craftsman at Lowe's, and then I ended up with that one, which was the blue one from Lowe's. What is that? The name brand? It's Lowe's house brand. But the difference was the Craftsman, I think, had 2 blades. This one had 3 blades. The Craftsman's speed was like, I think, 8,000 RPMs. This one was at like 10,000 RPMs or something. It had more blades and higher revolutions, which from the way I understood it and the way my brain works, I said, well, if it was more blades spinning faster, then it should provide a cleaner, smoother end result. And it did. So I like them. I like them a lot. I like them. And I'm still learning. I want to do more of my router too. And I've got the CNC in there, but I've been waiting on Mill Mage and then really do more videos like I had of the other. And it's got an alert that Clack just did something. Clack just dropped something, but he ain't live. Okay. Mark says you have to put those cup boards on a plywood sled and shim the edges to stop the flex before play. Yes. And then another thing that I know that I've seen you can do is when you've got them, when they really got a, as you say, cupped, what did I call it earlier? But anyway, you take and cut them in half. You can, and then plane them down and not plane them, cut them in half, join them, glue them up, and that can help take out a lot of that and makes it a little bit easier too. But this stuff was so bad that I wasn't even going to try and do all that. Chicago Bob says, I made the version of Venturi's fireplace, but mine was a window frame and I had an image of things outside. I said, ooh, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, guys, if you haven't seen that video, you need to go over and check his out. So Bob turned the fireplace into a window, and that's pretty cool. That's really cool. Yeah, send me that video, hobowithwood@gmail.com. And that's what I do. I take someone's concepts and make a version of it. I like the window idea. Yeah, and Chris, I'm kind of the same way. I was going to do it with instead of a fireplace, I was going to do the 70s console TV. In fact, I planned on. All this was already drawn. I already had all the concept art done, and I was going to do those big, stupid consoles from the 70s where you had the big picture tube in the middle and then the 2 speakers on either side. So I was going to, and have it Bluetooth so I could watch the 70s TV shows with the speakers. But the format was wrong for all of the, it didn't work. It didn't work. And I didn't think about that until I got too far down the rabbit hole. And it was, but yeah, I'll take someone's idea and then see what this twisted brain can make out of it. But I like that window idea. So yeah, I'll look for that in the email. And we're pushing 2 hours, but I want to catch up on all these comments. And hey, yeah, that's what this is right now. Hanging out with Hobo and friends is cheaper than going down to the pub. Yeah, because I don't go out in public anymore. I really don't. It was kind of I was kind of upset during COVID that you couldn't go out when you wanted to go out and see out, but then gosh, you couldn't go out and you didn't go out, and if you did, there wasn't nobody there. I just kind of got out of that routine, and now that you can, I don't care to. It's too expensive to go out. It's too expensive to go out and eat. It's too expensive to go out and drink. It's too expensive to go out, period. It don't cost anything to sit here at home and chat with you. I can go grab a swig if I want to, but I've even got to where I don't even do much of that. And I don't know if you can, for those who have been here for the whole stream, you can already tell too that, I've actually gotten better during this stream, just sitting here chatting with you guys. In the very beginning of this, I was stressed, I was pushed, and you could tell it in my speech. There's my drink of choice. Me and my RC. When I'm stressed or when I am under the gun and or just exhausted, I will sound like I'm drunk as a skunk. And if you ever see me and you go, man, he been drinking. No, I ain't been drinking. I'm just exhausted. All right. Kevin says, I just burnt your file on 5mm birch. The supports didn't go all wiggly. Yeah, 5mm would be better than the 3mm. Oh, and you're talking about and that's probably because the 5mm is still going to be sturdier than the 3 I was doing with. So even if there were any, so yeah, I'm thinking that my problem I'm having with which one's the worst one? Let's see here. I think it was this one. And what was really crazy is you can see there how squiggly wiggly that got, but the one above it straight as can be. Straight. That's a little bit curved. But then that one got whoopee jaw. I think that's because of the really, really thin material. It's not in the design. It's going to be a material related thing. And I didn't even think about that. And there's Jeff. I love Blackberry. You can send it to me. Well, I don't know how we get away with sending the open container through, but you can see that it's missing. It ain't from me. It's from my one supporter that comes by, and he'll take a swig every once in a while. Edward says, don't let other stupidity bother you. I did start watching laser engraving. I did start watching laser engraving videos in another channel, but I have become one of your patrons just because I like your humbleness and the way you are. Well, thank you for your support, and I don't put on any airs. I'm just me, and and you'll see my screw ups, and a lot of times you see my screw ups in real time. And just like here, when I decided to go a different way with that fan, once I started gluing it up, I realized, that didn't work, But now I know, and if you were here in the beginning, you've seen all the trial and errors. I'll try and try and try, and he says, and I explain things. Thank you. Well, thank you for your support. It's called Hackett Sacks. I knew it was something Sacks. I was thinking Happy Sacks, but it's not Happy Sacks. It's Hackett Sacks. That's the theme from Benny Hill. No, Yakety Sax. That's it. Yeah, Yakety Sax. I knew it wasn't the. I was thinking Happy Sax, but yes, that sounds right. Yakety Sax. Because I've used it in videos before. I used to take my security videos at the tire store, and when people do stupid things, and people do stupid things all the time, I would take and film that or just screen grab that stupid stuff and then speed it up and put it out there to Yakety Sax. Yeah, there it is. Jeff, thank you. Thank you for that. I didn't bring that up because I was expecting or wanting somebody to do that. And a lot of times the ones that do that are the ones who are already gold members and don't need to be doing anything else. But your support is greatly appreciated. Yeah, and Chris, trolls make it easy to come back at them, and that's like I said, I'll delete a lot of them, but some of them, because you need to keep those analytics going, I will just fire right back at them. Stupid. Hello from Rock Hill. My husband and I love watching you. You explain everything that you are doing. Well, I'm glad to entertain you, and hopefully you learn a little something on the way. But yeah, and that's really what, and that's like the last, because I'm getting off here, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of these comments, and then we're going. I'm going. But yeah, I don't. I'm just me with you having a conversation. And the truth is, there's 75 of you here right now in this stream. And I'm going to go through these comments, and I'm going to address those that look like they're either questions or comments and grab me. But the honest to God truth is, I probably wouldn't want to sit down with 75 of you in the same room. I don't want to be around people. This is cool. I like this, but I don't want to be in I've never liked to be in a crowd. And I like to perform. Some of you aware that I've done TV shows, commercials, movies, theater. I love being on stage. And theater is really the best reward possible. If you have a local theater in your neighborhood or in your city, and you've never been to a live show at your theater, shame on you. Because if you think this is entertaining, go watch a good comedy. And if you like the music I put on, go watch a musical. It's hard to beat a live performance, because things happen. Just like here when I'm doing this, things happen, and it's what you do with it. And for an actor being on stage and a live theater performing for a live crowd, being up on a stage in front of 300 or 400 people is one thing. Being in the auditorium with 300 people watching a show is another. I'm okay on the stage. I don't like being in the seats. I don't like that. And the theater is really cool, because when you do something that's funny, you get instant gratification as a performer because of the laughter and the applause and the he and the hawing and all that. You get instant gratification. And doing it for TV or for movie, for film, you don't get that. And you can rehearse it, and you can do it. You can do 6 takes until the director gets what he wants. And then they even add laugh tracks in on with the edits to give it some extra hype and whatever in the TV. Very few shows today are filmed in front of a live audience. So when you're sitting there listening and watching your show and you hear a bunch of laughter, that's just canned. They're wanting to prompt you to know that, hey, that was supposed to be funny. Well, you don't get that with live theater. And if you've got a theater in your community, let's see, next weekend I'll be Saturday at 9. So don't do it next Saturday, but maybe tonight. Surprise your lady, surprise your husband. Go get a ticket to your local theater and see what they're doing. Just so happens our local theater here is doing The Odd Couple. And, it's a bunch of people that I know from the community, but you forget that once you get there. And it can be really a good night out. But I was, from a performance standpoint, you could put me on the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl and ask me to perform, and I could do it. Might not be that great, but I could do it. But if you invite me to go to the Super Bowl sitting at the 50-yard line, I don't want no part of it. I don't want to be in that crowd. Put me in front of the crowd, but I want to be in it. No, thank you. Yeah, Chuck, that truck is, like I said, it's 18 years old. It's a 2006. Is that, do I do my math right? 2006, 18, it's 18 years old? Yeah. Truck is in great shape because it's an RV hauler. It's not something that gets driven. In fact, it's only got 130,000 miles on it. So, what is that? Just for the heck of it. Actually, it's got 135,000 divided by 24. So it gets 5,000 miles a year. If you didn't use more than about 5,000 miles a year, you'd look pretty good too for your age, right? Well, Sharon, thank you. I'm sure you're already gone by the time I got to this, but thank you for your support. And again, I apologize for not understanding what you were saying last week, but you were correct and we figured it out. And I thank you for calling me on it and we got it straightened out. John says, I'm a gold member. I'm a gold member, I guess, but I haven't downloaded any files. I watch you and then change up your designs, and that's how I like to learn. Yeah, and of course, you're welcome. And I haven't done this, but Russ was here. I don't know if Russ is still here. He sent me a file this week, and I said, hey, because he knows I like to create my own stuff. And I said, yeah, send it to me. I said, because if nothing else, I can see what you've done, and maybe I'll learn a different way of doing something by seeing what you've done. But I'm kind of the same way. That's what I want to do. I want to create. I'm just so happens I'm doing it because I'm also creating it to try and earn a living, putting them out there for sale. I haven't hit it yet, but I'm waiting on that one file, and I don't have the subscribers yet. I don't have the following. There's only 70 of you here. I'm thankful for each and every one of you that is here. But I know of people who claim I've never seen the proof, but I've heard claims of people putting a file up for, $6.99. And then in the first 12 hours or the first 24 hours, they'll have, 1,000 downloads. That would be so incredible and appreciated. And eventually I might get there, but we ain't there yet. No, Kevin, it wasn't the whiskey that relaxed me. It was just because I was so pressed. Just before going live, I was just, in fact, if you see on the laser, that's the scrap. I just finished cutting that out, and then got all that done. Then I had to clean up my little work area here, get it. I was struggling for the first, or from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I was running like crazy trying to make things ready for the live stream. Nah, wasn't that. It'd take a whole lot more than one swig to have any effect on me. What is this? I guess I've offended you as you have not responded to my email or read my comments. I never meant to offend you. I'm a bit like you, as I don't make it out much, but again, I apologize. I don't know what you're referring to, Jeff. Now, I'll tell you this, Jeff, just like I've had to tell Russ, if you send me an email with a question in it, if you've got a problem or a concern or a question that requires me to respond, or you're looking for a response to a reply to a question, then I try to answer those. But if you send me an email about, hey, man, what's up? Yeah, I'm just down the street from you. Hey, cool. Loved watching that. Yeah, if it's just a comment, yours isn't the only one. And I don't reply to comments as a rule. I will, if it's a comment on YouTube And YouTube is, I'll try to, especially if they have the auto generated replies on there, and I can kind of go through them. Okay, thanks, great, appreciate it. But as a rule, unless it's a question, I don't respond to emails because right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that you've said or done that was offensive at all. And now you got my curiosity piqued. Search email. That ain't you. Says you say I haven't responded to your email. Okay, there's your email. Let's see. May 3rd was the last time you emailed me anything. And no, that's not you. There. May 2nd was the last time. Yeah, and I don't see any question there. You did refer to me as the new moniker as Professor Steve. And that's funny because I never thought of myself as anyone ever to be able to teach anything. I never thought of, never, ever, ever. But Jeff, and I don't know if you go by Jeff or Jeffrey. I don't recall you ever sending me anything that you were expecting to reply from, and you feel if you feel like I've slighted you, I'm sorry, because you're not one that comes off to me as and recalling anything that's ever offended me. But I do not reply to every single email. That would just be impossible. But I try to address any and all questions. And because I get so many of those is why I don't have the time to address just the casual, hey, how you doing? So yeah, you, as far as I know, you ain't done anything you need to apologize for. And I am trying to get to the bottom of these, because again, I don't want to slight anybody. Dale says my local theater is at the bar, and that's a different kind of entertainment. And I guess not all communities have a community theater, Dale. But if your community does have a community theater, you should check it out. That is a different. Now, theater folk are a different group of people. I'm not your average theater. In fact, I don't even fit in with my theater people. And that's why I don't do any more than I do, because I'm not your average theater. I'm not your average thespian. I'm just a clown. And so, but if you don't have any hangups about, being around a bunch of thespians, then it might be a different kind of night out. You should go check it out, because it is a different crowd than you're going to see in your bar. Yeah, and Chris says, my idea is anything more than 4 people. Yeah, that's a crowd. Yep. Well, Chicago Bob says the cicadas have emerged by him, and I don't know about you, but down here their internet's all flooding with the different ways to eat them. And I'm like, yeah, nah. Yeah, Jeff says it was just a comment. I don't recall any comments that you've ever said that were, because if you've made a comment that I found offensive, one of two things was going to happen. One, I'd either delete it or I would have replied. The fact that I didn't reply to anything that you said, if it was on YouTube and it was a comment and I didn't reply to it, I didn't find it offensive at all. Or else you would have known. It'd either be gone or I would have replied. the lack of response is probably because it was one of those comments that YouTube didn't give me a lot of times for me as a creator, when I'm going through the comments, they will have predictive responses or canned responses that I can click on, so I can go through 40 of them and just respond. So there might have been a comment that didn't generate one of those, and I just went on right on past it. So no, you didn't say anything that was offensive. You're good. I appreciate the mom you made and showed how to design. Helped me make one for my mom for Mother's Day, and she loved it. That's great. It was different from yours, but amazing. Her words, first time. Oh, your mom said it was amazing. Yep. Well, moms will say that about anything. They liked your macaroni art you did when you was in preschool. But I'm sure it was lovely. But moms have got to, I gave my mom that layered mirror design that I did, and she embraced it like it was a teddy bear. I'm like, okay, moms are moms, but I'm glad that you were able to take the instruction and make your own. And that's what I like doing. I, I don't depend on hobowithwood.com to pay any bills. Those are pennies from heaven. When people buy any of the files, it's pennies from heaven. The patrons are what support me. Thank you, patrons. Have I said that yet in this video? Thank you, patrons. But I get so much pleasure. And some folks would actually probably be upset by this, but I'm not. I'm the other way. When I look on the Facebook, Hobo with Wood Facebook group, and people are posting images at being at flea markets or at trade shows or at this or that, and they show images of their table down there and all these items for sale, and there's a half a dozen or more of my designs sitting there that are my designs exactly. They haven't even changed them. That's fine. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I do not put any kind of restrictions on my stuff unless you're going to go into some type of commercial business. But for folks that are hobbyists and are just looking at making a little money here on the side, take my files, and I've said it a 1,000 times. You go make $1 million off of my design. Put it in your laser, cut it out, and you sell 100,000 of them and make $1 million. Then you say, you know what? Now Hobo is pretty good. I'm going to send him a little something, something. Hey, great. But I have a sense of pride when I look at those files or those photos and see all my designs all over, not all over the state, all over the country, not even all over, around the world. People are posting stuff that's got my designs out there. And I think that's just cool as snot. That's the coolest thing in the world. And I do take it gives me a boost to my ego to say, they like that well enough to put that out there with their name on it and sell it. And I love it. So, I do enjoy teaching you what I'm doing. And if you buy the files to support me too, hey, great. But I'm looking for my first platinum patron. The platinum patron, I've got gold, silver, and bronze, but I've also got a platinum level. And the platinum supporter is $5,000 a month. And I'll come to your house once a month and cook you dinner and talk to you about LightBurn and lasers until we're sick. You guys, and that's funny. We're at 2.5 hours. I got to quit. Chris says, yeah, we keep talking, we're going to be 5 hours again. We're not even talking about files and designs anymore. We're just hanging out. And then, I'm trying to get to the bottom of the comments, and hey, it quit scrolling. Thank goodness, because y'all ain't going to do that to me. You ain't going to do that to me. Let's see here. And Kevin says, yes, Mom was a big hit around here. Inspired me to make one that said Mimi. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah. I hide the word hobo on some of the things that are based on things you do. Huh. Okay, that's cool. So you kind of put that in there. Man, I'm surprised you've been you're either really busy doing this and got stuff going on in the background, or you just bored to death. I just screen printed nine shirts. Thanks for the company in the shop. Thank you for hanging out. And I'm getting out of here now because I've got to the bottom of this, and I'm gonna get off here before they filled up just to be funny. Jason says, I love the fact that you don't show how to build something I love the fact that you don't show how to build something using your files, but unlike others, you teach the fundamentals on how to design. Yeah, that is a big difference between me and a large number of them out there. Is like they'll show you their file and here it is, and this is what you can do with it, and it's available. But no, I go even deeper. I'll show you mind-numbingly so step by step how to create that file. So if you really wanted to do it, you could, if you had to, even back up, watch again. You could do it yourself because I'm showing you step by step on a lot of it how to do it. That cuts out any opportunity of me selling you that file. And maybe that's the reason I haven't had 1,000 downloads of a file in the first 24 hours, because I teach you how to do it. You don't need to download it. I'm teaching you how to do it. So that's a little bit counterintuitive because I'm trying to teach you to do it instead of selling you something. And that's the other thing too. And I'm going to leave it on this. I turn down so many opportunities every week of people wanting to send me a new laser, send me this, send me a new product. They want me to, and I am not going to be a barker. I am not going to get up on my box and start talking to you about this latest and greatest, this is the newest thing of this and this. And I'm not going to be promoting a new product in every video just to be promoting a product. And those videos actually, I'm like, when I see it, I was like, I don't even believe it anymore, because it's like, okay, like if you go to hobowithwood.com/Rolly, which is probably the first time I said that in this video. If you want to buy a Rolly laser machine, go to hobowithwood.com/Rolly. And that lets Leo know that I've helped inspire you to buy the Rolly machine. And he will say thank you with a small tip. I have on order the MK2 XW with my pre-order of $100, and I'm waiting for that order to come through, and I'm buying it. It's not being provided to me. So when you see me with the XW up here, I'm buying that machine from Rolly, just like you will be. I'm not getting it free. It's not going to be sent to me for product placement or anything like that. I'm buying the XW. Now, he is giving me one to give you guys, and that's the other thing. I'm horrible at this. The 2-year anniversary is coming up for the 65 of you that's still here. A reminder, next month, almost less than a month away, June 15th, the live stream will be at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Somebody's going to get a brand new Rolly laser. Leo's donating one for my 2-year anniversary that one of the lucky viewers is going to get. And it's not limited to just the 48 U.S. states or the 50. If you're watching, anybody watching has got a chance to win a brand new Rolly laser. Best laser, in my opinion, on the market. And I'm not going to be pushing out a new product and promoting a new product every time you turn on my video. I'll be staying with the Rolly products until somebody reinvents the wheel. Right now, everybody's copying this. And honestly, from what I've seen from Leo, he's staying ahead of the curve. The MK3 that's going to be out next year might be the next wheel that I want to purchase. But I haven't seen anybody doing anything that's in the way of technology that makes me want to jump ship and leave Rolly. So, hobowithwood.com for the files. Patreon.com/hobowithwood if you want to become a supporter of the channel and keep this going. And I lost a few this week, so I'd appreciate if you consider, even if it's just the bronze member. Bronze gets 60% off all files. hobowithwood.com/Rolly if you're thinking about getting the Rolly Lasermatic. Best diode out there. Anything else I'm forgetting? Oh, the 2-year anniversary. Set it in your calendar. Don't rely on your phone as or YouTube as a reminder. Put it in your calendar. June 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Somebody's going to win a brand new Rolly. And I don't know when I'm going to do it in the live stream. So for the folks that's already cut out, they might miss out. I might do it in the first 3 minutes of the live stream. So you don't want to be late. I might do it just for that, just because those regulars that are always there, ready for the stream, somebody's going to get a free Rolly. And then I might do it in the last 3 minutes. I might do it in the middle of it. Don't know when I'm going to do it. But you want to make sure you set a reminder. Don't be late for that. Karen's, what will my first project be on the MK2? The big one, those probably going to do the, I've got these 2 really beautiful pieces of maple that I'm going to book match together. And they're going to be once I put them together, they're going to be too big for this work area, but I think they're going to be perfect for the extended. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Yep. Go Gold, subscribe. If you don't do anything else, if you're not a patron, if you're not buying the files, if you're not doing anything else, at the very least, hit the subscribe button. I finally hit 9,200. I was hoping to be at 10,000 for the anniversary. That ain't going to happen. April really killed me. I was out of commission for 4 weeks, and it killed everything. Well, Kevin, you can't do that, brother. You really can't. Because these lasers are just like your cell phone. By the time you buy, if you're an Apple man, you're buying the Apple 24, whatever it is, or the S24 from Samsung. 6 months from now, they're going to have the S25 out, and yours is already going to be dated. If you keep waiting for the best one, the best one's always what's coming, and if it's a good company, that's the way it's always going to be. So what I would recommend is jump on there if they're still doing the pre-orders for the extra wide MK2. Get you one of the extra wide MK2s, and then because I don't know what the bed size is going to be on the MK3, but get you one now, and then when the MK3 does come out, and at the first quarter next year, when I think is when they were talking about, because if you keep waiting. It's kind of like people say, well, we're going to wait till we're better off to have kids. Well, if you wait till it's a better time to have kids, you never have kids. I don't have kids. And yeah, your flip phone is out of date. I didn't realize the Razr was a flip phone. I had a Motorola Flip. All right. You know what? Just for the heck of it. And I don't know if it was Bob. I don't know. I think it might have been you that pointed it out. Ever since I've made my theme song. In fact, let's see. Something. Hey, somebody did sign up as a patron. Lawrence, are you in the stream? Thank you. I don't know if you're in the stream or not, but thank you. But no one was a calendar. Calendar. Today is the 18th. No, that's okay. 27th is Memorial Day. All right. Very good. But I think Bob mentioned after I wrote my theme song, everybody's got theme songs now. And now it's almost like, kind of took the fun off of mine because everybody's doing it. And I'm like, okay, well, seriously? Wow. You know what's funny too, Brad? If you go back and because I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. If you go back and look at a lot of the thumbnails on his videos, uh, on all of on the thumbnails describing no music, no music, no music, no music, totally against it, and absolutely berated me. Just gave me such heck whenever I would use music. Uh, yeah, yeah, but I tell you what though, Patrick does have a better dance than I've got. Patrick and his air guitar and his wig. Now he's got a he's Patrick's dance is better than my dance. Uh, and that's the one saving grace that I take from it is yeah. That's and so with that, I always have to make sure to turn off the loop because it always wants to automatically loop the track, and I don't want to do that. And that sounds good there. And we'll turn off the loop, and then. Lots of wood. You should see my floor. That's a wig. Yeah, Patrick's wig. Yeah, Patrick's wearing a wig for that. And yes, I did write the words because to make it very specific about Hobo with wood and featuring the. That's another thing too. Is another reason I don't want to go jumping from laser to laser is my theme song is about me and my Rolly. I don't want to write another song. And if you haven't seen it, I posted it on the YouTube channel, Bob. I wrote another song. It was after 9/11. Home of the Red, White, and Blue. It's on the Hobo with Wood channel. But Home of the Red, White, and Blue. And for the folks that are not here in the U.S., it's kind of a funny thing, funny situation. I'm not exceptionally proud of being in the United States and being part of the United States because I'm not exactly proud of what they do, who they represent, or how they represent. I'm not happy with the current state of affairs. And but at the same time, I don't feel safe being anywhere else because of how Americans are perceived. But after 9/11, after the towers came down and they draped the flag over the Pentagon, and I'm looking at the Pentagon or the flag as it's draped over the hole in the Pentagon, I asked myself, well, what does that represent? What I see the flag, but what does that mean? And what does it mean to me? And so I wrote the song "Home of the Red, White, and Blue," and I put it to a short video and posted it on YouTube. That one video was for Happy Veterans Day, but it applies to Memorial Day, Veterans Day, or any time it's a salute to the fallen soldiers and all that has served and those that are still serving. But I wrote that song too. In fact, that video of Hobo with Wood, the Home of the Red, White, and Blue, that's actually me singing it. That was before my strokes. and why I could still halfway carry a tune in a bucket. So if you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's pretty cool. All right. I'm getting out of here. I'm seeing y'all. We're going to be, in fact, I'm toying around with the idea of maybe changing up the schedule instead of trying to do Tuesday and Thursday. Just try and get develop a really good project once a week, and maybe show a Wednesday progress report, and then a Saturday, hey, this is what's going on and what can I help you with. So, but I'll see you next week in a video somehow, sometime soon. Thank you all for watching. I've hit the end stream button.